All right, welcome back after that lovely lunch. And let's quickly move into an interesting panel discussion coming up right away. It's all about winning in retail. So let me first go ahead and call upon the moderator for the session. We have with us the Director of Industry GTM, Advisory Retail and CPG Salesforce. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as I invite Anuradha Tyagi on the stage. Yes, please. And joining her to co-host the session, we have with us Rajat Wahi, partner Deloitte. And let's have the speakers as well on the stage. Joining them is the founder and managing director for Plum Cosmetics. We have Mr. Shankar Prasad. We also have the country head for retail business development Pantaloons, the Aditya Birla Group. We have Tarun Vashishta. Chief Retail Expansion Officer for Lenskart. We have with us Mr. Sunil Menon. We also have the founder and managing director for Kazo.com, Deepak Agarwal. Joining them, we have the founder for Wow Momos, Sagar Daryani, and the executive director for Wagh Bakri Tea, Parag Desai. All right, so we're all geared up for a very interesting panel discussion. Over to you, Anuradha.
Thank you so much for that introduction and good afternoon everyone. A very, very warm welcome to this panel discussion. Delighted to be here with the rest of the very esteemed panel, executives, founders, industry leaders, and we'll take the next 30 to 40 minutes to spend some time, shed light on insights, spaces, their own experiences in the last 24 to 36 months, understanding the rise of digital omni-channel excellence in light of changing consumer behavior, and most importantly, the implications that the changing world of retail is seeing in terms of loyalty and customer experience. Let me start with Rajat first. Rajat, today's business environment, as we all understand, is a highly competitive and a dynamic one. And retailers are facing all kinds of challenges, be it inflation, supply chain constraints, or for that matter, changing customer demands. What, according to you, are some of the biggest issues that retailers face today? And what would your guidance be in terms of how they should push the pedal to address these?
Sure. Thank you for having us here and for a great 2 days. And great to be on the panel with such esteemed retailers and brands. So I think from my perspective, the current, while we can talk about inflation, supply chain constraints, finding the right talent, and all of the other earlier speakers spoke about that. Sorry, for me, the big play is how do retailers capture the customer data and be very active in terms of customer engagement? Because today, so many new brands coming in the market, so many new retailers opening up, lots of global brands now making a beeline for India, especially after the whole China scenario, and where India's growth numbers are today. I think the competition is only going to get very challenging. You also have a lot of homegrown brands, which are really capturing share, taking share from existing brands. So for me, what's really critical is how do brands continue to connect with customers? And while they did a great job for the last 2 years doing that during the COVID, because there was no other option but to go online and create. But my sense is, as we go back to offline, our brand's going to stay true to, putting in technology and analytics and customer loyalty programs, and really building best-in-class customer loyalty both around online and offline. So getting a single view of shopper, single view of customer for me continues to be the, what's the holy grail or the big focus area. And that's what I would like to see brands really, what I think are the big challenge on brands on capturing that, especially for offline brands, and to some extent, how do they make that work?
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Rajat. And we are going to get to what some of the offline first brands think about that. But before I get to that part, question for you, Parag. When we talk about loyalty, when we talk about boosting loyalty, strategic partnerships in today's day and age are playing a huge role. What is it that you've seen in your experience for Wagh Bakri Tea? How has Wagh Bakri as a brand, as a retailer really built on some of these strategic partnerships, and how is that benefiting you over time?
Thank you and good afternoon everyone. My name is Parag Desai. I am the 4th generation entrepreneur at the Wagh Bakri Tea Group. The question is very valid, so I'll take you back in time. My great-grandfather who started the business, he set up retail outlets wherein people would come and buy loose tea in a city called Ahmedabad, where they migrated from South Africa to work with Mahatma Gandhi to make sure India gets her freedom. From that time to the 80s, where my father and uncle started, we were the first to enter the packaged tea business. Till time now, wherein we have now spent a decade in our tea lounges, we have partnered with the best of the high street, the best of the malls, a DLF, and Inorbit. We have then taken the relationship ahead in terms of deliveries, so a Swiggy, a Zomato. Everywhere I think customer is looking for an experience of a very good quality product. So unlike what people think, a partnership is always not a win-win. You need to lose some also. And in this journey, which I have personally taken the brand in the last 35 years, I am very proud that every partnership we have built is now on a very solid footing. In most of the partnerships, we are now speaking with the second generation. We work with a lot of new age tech companies who do a lot of research and piloting with us because they trust us that, you know, when we talk partnerships, we are looking at customer delight, customer engagement, and of course, giving the best quality product, which in our case is tea, coffee, and best quality snacks in whichever city you are. So if you talk about a partnership we have in Delhi, the food menu, the partners are very different than what we have in a Pune or a Mumbai or a Ahmedabad or a Chandigarh. So we take great pride in, you know, contemporizing our partnerships also. Thank you.
Wonderful, and what a great way to look at what a strategic partnership could mean. And I think a great takeaway for us to understand that partnerships have a win-win and a win-lose sort of scenario, and they look differently depending on the context, consumption cluster that we are talking about. Going back to what Rajat touched upon in the context of offline retail, Tarun, my next question is for you. You are leading a brand which stands for large format retail stores with pantaloons. Of course, when we think of tech playing a big role for offline retail, there has been the evolution in terms of sharper decision making and prioritization of strategic efforts. What, according to you, have been the top strategic priorities for a retailer like Pantaloons, and what is the role that tech is playing, much to the tune of what Rajat mentioned in terms of boosting experience for customers?
Thank you, and thanks. I think you have just witnessed one of the most difficult thing in world, keeping a carnivorous animal with a herbivorous and making it a brand. So Bagh Bakri, so just clap for the Bagh Bakri here. And it's one of the most difficult thing which doesn't happen. So thank you there. Yes, coming and thanks for asking such a loaded question. Let's talk about, we all have learned 4P in our MBA practices or some of the places which we have heard about. If we talk about any retail partner, you can convert it into 4M. One is the market both online, offline. We have heard a lot about omni, now it is physical. So that's first M. Second is the merchandise, whichever brand you are in, whether it is apparel or food. We had lovely food just because of Sagar now. So you have to put huge focus on the quality of your product. Third is the marketing, because we are in that generation wherein you have the baby boomer, you have X, millennial, and Z, generation Z. All of them have a different need. The way they behave is also different. And the fourth one, which is also going to be very, very critical, and which Sagar was mentioning about the margins, because your survival, revival, and the thrival, these three things which we call as SRT will depend on the margin you operate. Another good question which you asked upon, the tech enabler. So tech can be considered as a multiplying force. It's a super enabler. Just look at the footprint. When you decide about the store, we are moving from a descriptive analytics to predictive analytics. Now you are dividing your markets into 50 by 50 ka geospatial ring fencing, and you are deciding about where exactly my consumer resides. And the power you bring, the more closer you are to the consumer, the better decision making you take. So that's the power which tech brings into the footprint side. The moment you move towards the personalized, marketing, the biggest impact comes from the influencer, which is Gen Z. So which is largely influencing that decision. So that's a huge tech plays, the machine learning, the artificial intelligence plays a very, very critical and pivotal role there. Third part you talked about is the portfolio. So as an ABFRL, I was just sharing with Rajat, that as an ABFRL, we are a brand which is present in 26 states of India through 3,500 EBOs and through 35,000 point of sales. So that's a huge number. Now, recently, our chairman, Mr. Birla, he said, we want to become a 26,000 crore entity. So what we are doing, we are also entering into a D2C company, which is tomorrow, wherein we want to make 30 such brands, which is currently swinging between 20 to 30 crore, and they have the capacity to go to the 400 to 500 crore. So that's the portfolio enhancement which we are doing. Last but not the least, the impact which it is going to create. When you said we are living in a country which is divided into pin codes, which is further divided into towns, which is 6,900 towns. Largely penetration is so low, we are only talking about the big metros, which is 11, and then the sub metros, which is 44. So I think tech is going to become, currently it is a gatekeeper, but soon and very soon it is going to become the game changer. And hence we all have to embrace this change, and all of us who are sitting here have started that journey in some place or form. So hence I'm saying tech is a super enabler, multiplying force for us, and that's it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tarun, and fantastic pointers for the audience and everyone who's tuning into this session to make note of, which is tech is now not just going to be a gatekeeper, but actually be a game changer, be it reassessment of your store footprint or doubling down on online presence, staying relevant with more personalized marketing campaigns, or for that matter, reassessing your vendor relations and actually understanding how do you improve your portfolio is something that tech is enabling for most brands, be it online, offline, or omni-channel. And that gets me to one of our leaders who actually leads a brand, a retailer that stands for omni-channel excellence, and that's Sunil. The next one is for you. When we talk about in the context of Lenskart, and as you look at retail expansion for Lenskart, what is the role that tech has been playing in order to improve the decision making as you look at your footprints for Lenskart across the length and breadth of India and beyond? And more importantly, when you talk about the importance of tech, how do you measure the ROI that a tech investment has over a period of time?
I think the measurement of tech, to understand that, we have to understand that it's not only in expansion, it is the overall tech which gets executed in a company, right? So Lenskart being a real omni-channel company, where there are various touch points. The e-com has gone through complete reshape with the consumer behaviors changing, hyper-personalization which is coming into it. So all these will definitely require tech, like whether it is your artificial. For example, you enter a store today, Lenskart store. We would like to understand what you browsed in your website, when you went to our site, what did you put in your wish list, what was the product. So what advantage you have is you have hyper personalization, you understand what the person has looked at, plus the time of transaction also comes down very, very drastically. So I think the tech should be looked at it at large to have a complete integration of all your channels. That's why I think most of the companies are moving now to headless commerce route. Rather than the pure e-com, they are looking at headless com. So that is how I think the evolution has happened. To be specific, since you asked me about expansion, we had a typical problem. When we started, I think about 6 to 7 years back into an offline business, we had a competition to catch up with. So it was very easy for me to say where to open. We had a competition, we knew there was a market, we went and opened next to that, and it was easier. But what happens when you want to be a market leader? You really don't know where to open the store, right? Where your consumers lie. Whatever kind of macroeconomics or microeconomics, it doesn't work to the extent of understanding what works for you, right? And how did we achieve that is that we looked at our 1,000 stores, which was there, or 500 or 600 stores. We gave all the learnings we had in this 500 stores to our company, and we asked them to get us those matrices, right? Or those particular criterias which help us become successful at the same time, those which adds up to our failure. Then we looked at that machine learning and we put that into the existing geographies where we would like to go. And then we identified to the extent of lat and long where we can have our stores. And we got into a predictability of almost about 85%, right in that particular junction. Today, if I have to decide that I have to go for another 1,000 stores, I have the lat long of all those 1,000 places where I can put my stores and I can be predictable to the extent of 85%. Right? I am not saying 100%. There has been failures here and there. Maybe because the learning is always evolving. It cannot be the same. What happens to a consumer or what is the consumer behavior 2 years back or 1 year back can change. The markets move, right? But I think we are getting it almost 80-85% right. And that's how I think we have to use the tech, both the machine learning but it cannot be like this that you use only a macroeconomic data. It has to be your own data, your own brand data, which can throw us those, criteria which can make you successful.
Makes a lot of sense and very interesting pointers for us to make note of. I think an imperative that we've seen really come out in the context of the pandemic and especially the last 2 to 3 years is how the mushrooming of niche private labels, several brands have come to the fore, and loyalty itself has become a question mark as brands and retailers are fighting for relevance in a space where consumers have a lot of choice. One such space within retail is actually that of personal care. And that gets me to Plum Cosmetics, a brand that has managed to create its own niche in a space like cosmetics, personal care. And to that, Shankar, help us understand. Sunil touched upon hyper-personalization, the role of tech in the context of AI, ML. When you see for Plum Cosmetics, what are some of the use cases that you all have been doubling down on in order to leverage analytics, digital, and predict and cater to the changing shopper realities of today?
Thank you. On a lighter note, I'm missing carrying my notepad and penny. There's so much to learn from this panel here that I'm worried I'll forget stuff. Thank you. I'll take this from you later. What you said right at the end of your question is, I think, what's most important, which is that the space, especially in beauty and personal care, is evolving very rapidly. What was true even a year ago needs to be updated. And you can't do that manually anymore. It has to be basis data. Now, if you really see where data exists, I think when people start using data for decision making, one of the first things that they say, where is the data? But actually, if you sit down and list where all the data is available and where the sources of data are, not one of them, not any of them will be complete data set, but it gives you enough pieces of the jigsaw to piece something together. And we get data, for example, from our own website. We get data from our retailers. We get data from the likes of Amazon, which is a very data-driven platform by itself, which shares a lot of data with brands. We get data from our manufacturers. Some of it is structured, some of it is not structured. We get macroeconomic data. We get, industry data. We get listed company data. So if you really see, there is no shortage of data. The refrain is, I don't know where it is. It is there. You just have to go and find it. The challenge is really in piecing all this together to help inform decision making. And not just that, by the time you put the structure up, reality has perhaps changed. So the fun is really in being adaptive to how you're leveraging this data for decision making. So it's sort of almost a moving target at all times. And in beauty and personal care, today, because of the explosion of choice with the consumer, there is no way. I mean, there is one way you can do it, which is by getting lucky. But if you are, most of us aren't all the time. So if you are not going to be lucky all the time, the only other way to sort of make sense of this rapidly changing environment is by leveraging wherever you can lay your hands on data and just figure out a way of continually leveraging that. Easier said than done, but that's what we are sort of trying to do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shankar. I think it really teaches us one of the ways to build on loyalty and brand love is to constantly keep at it, which is exactly what Plum Cosmetics is doing with data. And that gets me to another brand which has really stood the test of times and evolved itself and really stands for brand love. So I'm coming to Wow Momos. I'm sure some of us have actually gone and even grabbed something from their stall outside. Sagar, my next question is for you. We hear a lot in the context of innovation and that directly being linked to CX or what we understand by customer experience. For a brand like Wow Momos, which has traversed its own journey over the last many years, be it in the context of its offering itself, the presence, be it in the form of kiosks or in malls or standalone outlets, what have been your lessons as someone who's at the forefront of driving this innovation for Wow and also standing the test of times, not just for today, but making it a sustainable brand going forward as well?
I think the learning has been that, our industry stands for health, hygiene, happiness, right? And you have to make it fun for the consumer. You have to wow the consumer. And I think pampering your consumer is from where we start and we begin. We don't end, So yeah, I think we've realized one thing that, people make good food. We make food good. It's not about market share, it's about owning share of that stomach. There's a belly expansion happening in the country. So we want you to come to us, whether it's for a chicken or a China or a Momo. But more importantly, when we talk about tech, for me, real food tech is not selling online. For me, real food tech is how do you use that to, create a product and an audience for that product. To scale, to provide that convenience to the consumer. Imagine who could have thought, 10 years from now that, Momo could be there, it could become the meal of all times. Today, we have Wow Chicken, which is 0 MSG, no chicken skin. Wow China, 0 MSG. A Wow Momo, which had a 2-day shelf life. Today, we've taken it in package form to a 9-month shelf life. So, it's like your favorite food with you all the time. So I think that's been the goal. We've strongly believed that, our customers are our biggest celebrity, we don't need Bollywood, we don't need cricketers. I think consumer, it is that make us, that break us. And I think the word of mouth in today's day has become the word of media, the word of social media. So, whether it's your CRM program, your loyalty program, I think it's not just about benefits anymore. It's about instant gratification. It's about creating that society, you want to be a part of people's life. Today, if you come to a Wow Momo, if you have your date of birth and your birthday, we will not ask you to come to us on your birthday, but within your 1 month of your birthday, whenever you come to us, the staff has the capability of wishing you, of giving you that Momo and making you feel wow. So, you get a chocolate Momo just to wow the consumer. So, some way or the other, I feel that, I think the entire platform, the horizon, and we all talk about omni-channel. I think it's no more about omni-channel, it's about multi-channel. Brands are selling food online, offline, they are selling it on FMCG. It's how often can you, get your label recalled to the consumer. A logo with a look and feel and a color is just a label. It has to have a purpose to it. I think in our case, we found our purpose to be change. We felt, let's change narrative. There was a change earlier that, homegrown QSRs cannot come. It has to be all international. I think we walked the talk and we want to create that change. There was a change. There was a thought process earlier that, parents would say, beta, bahar ka khana mat khao. Today, we are creating that healthy food for you. We are trying to, become the food of all time. So I think the change in narration is very important. You have to reinvent. And like they said, it was about survival, then revival, and now growth. And I think tech has played its own way. The business has changed, prior to COVID, we were only 18% delivery business. Today, we've learned how to do growth hacking in Swiggy and Zomato to become at 47%. So I think the platforms are there. It's about how do you reinvent yourself and fit yourself in every channel depending on the situation.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for that, Sagar. It actually makes us sit back and understand that when we talk about innovation and customer experience, it's actually going back and understanding what reinvention means with the times, and truly delight, instant gratification and convenience. Being present as a brand where the customers wish to shop for, eat from, is exactly what's going to take you forward and has been the story for Bao Momos for the last many years and many more decades to come. That gets me to a different domain, which is that of fashion, apparel, lifestyle, and let me get to Kazo.com. We have with us Deepak. Deepak, we are moving now from what it means to cater to the belly, what it means to cater to the soul, to the eyes, to fashion. As you manage an umbrella like Kazo, what has been your experience in the context of how tech is enabling a segment which is massively hinged by changing styles, seasons, shopper sentiments, including the influencer concept that has really picked up with social media, etc. So what have been some of your lessons in the past few years?
Hello everyone. I think it's very important for any consumer, as all the speakers have been saying, is all about the consumer in the end. And to actually connect and understand with them what exactly they are looking for. And in the end, what they're looking for is the holistical approach, the experience which any brand can bring on the table. So it's very important to make them connect to what they are actually looking to buy. So what we are doing, of course, on the because we are also offline quite dominantly growing, and that is also playing a very big role, where offline is automatically giving a more belief to the consumer on online to believe on the brand when they see, okay, they are growing and making opening stores, bigger stores, more great-looking stores, and they connect to it. So it's very, very important overall, the presentation. So I do think the presentation plays a very, very huge role in the consumer's mind, because then they connect themselves to that product, they connect themselves to the brand, and they feel much more comfortable. They feel much more upgraded, means for us as a brand, because we are for sure in the fashion industry, we are only competing with all the multinational brands, right? We don't have any real competition with the homegrown brand. It's mostly competition with the international brands. And there our consumer has to understand it's all about the product in the end. The product needs to be the product, and the product needs to be presentable enough for them to wear, and they should feel comfortable, and they should feel proud of what they're wearing. So it's very important that we are able to give them a communication of how to use the product and why this product. What is trending right now? Okay, it's green, which is trending. Okay, this is the flowers which are trending. So it needs to be communicated in a very silent way, because also consumer today doesn't want too much teaching, because they don't like too much teaching. They're very sensitive. Okay, we know, and that's the new G generation, right? They want to be the first, but they also want to pretend that they know all, right? So we need to be very smartly giving that communication to them, what is new, and in a very soft manner. And I think it's important to focus when we are all the time talking about soft skill trainings and so on. I think it's more about product. It's all about product. So product needs to be much more understood, much more well explained. And if you see, when you are able to explain the product, automatically the sale goes in a different direction. We have experienced that. We've been seeing our fashion assistants who was selling in the stores, and when we see, just to keep a change, okay, change this one to here, and we see that immediately the sales is going up on this store. How come? So it's very clear, because they are much more well trained, and they can for sure understand the product well to explain the product well. So that happens, and especially when you say about the tech, I think tech has a very larger role to play, because it's not only about omni-channel or multi-channel, it's also about experience in store. While they are doing the shopping online, it has to go very fast. Means a lot of things. It has to go fast. It has to they select this product. Okay, then we immediately show them what all they can buy in the basket. So that should coordinate very well. So all these trainings in the way that the customers can be trained I think is a big challenge. And it's never ending. It's just going on and on. So that's what it is. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Deepak. I think one big learning there, which is product is king. It has been the king for the last many years, king or queen, and will continue to be the case. This is where we conclude our panel discussion. I think in the interest of time, fantastic insights from all our esteemed panelists, and thank you so much for tuning in.
So, yeah, just one second. I'll take, yeah. One, when I said tech is a game changer, recent McKinsey study talks about 50 to 60% of your sale remains in the cart. Offline, only 20% of the conversion happen. But when both of them merges together, your conversion becomes double. Now, two lines from famous poet to all of you who have struggled here, and I think we will conclude with that. लोहा जितना तपता है, उतनी ही ताकत भरता है. सोने पर जितनी आग लगे वो उतना प्रखर निखरता है. हीरे पर जितनी धार लगे वो उतना खूब चमकता है. मिट्टी का बर्तन पकता है तब धुन पर खूब खनकता है. सूरज जैसा बनना है, सूरज जैसा बनना है तो सूरज जैसा जलना होगा. नदियों सा आदर पाना है तो पर्वत छोड़ निकलना होगा. और हम आदम के बच्चे हैं, एडम एंड ईव. हम आदम के बच्चे हैं, क्यों सोचे राह सरल होगा. थोड़ा वक्त लगेगा पर संघर्ष जरूर सफल होगा. संघर्ष जरूर सफल होगा. हर एक कोशिश का हल होगा. गर आज नहीं तो कल होगा. गर आज नहीं तो कल होगा. So to the efforts which every single individual in this room is putting in, every single individual who is on this panel, for all the sangharsh, for all the problem which will have the solution, I think right from offline to online to omni to physical, now metaverse is on the go. I think every problem will have a solution. Thank you very much, Anuradha and Mr. Vai. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.